The darkness of space stretched endlessly, disturbed only by the cold glow of distant stars and the occasional flash of engines as massive warships glided between worlds. This was the domain of the Dominion, an empire built on the bones of 100 conquered species and the fear of 1,000 more. Admiral Vex stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Oblivion, his tall, gaunt frame silhouetted against the viewport. His skin was pale blue with a metallic sheen, his four eyes constantly scanning the tactical displays floating before him. The latest conquest had been easy, too easy. The beings of Terrace 4 had surrendered at the mere sight of his fleet entering their system. Another victory without honor. Vex muttered to his second-in-command, Officer Drell. "They are wise to submit, Admiral," Drell replied, his voice carrying the metallic undertone common to their species. "Our doctrine spreads throughout the galaxy. All know that resistance leads only to destruction." This was the way of the Dominion for the past 3 centuries. First contact always followed the same pattern. A show of overwhelming force, demands for complete surrender, and then the slow absorption of the new world into the Empire. Those who resisted were made examples of, their planets bombarded until submission or extinction, whichever came first. "Bring up the expansion map," Vex ordered, and the star chart materialized before him. Thousands of points of light, each representing a star system, glowed with the deep red of Dominion control. What sector next? Drell hesitated, a rare occurrence that made Vex turn all 4 eyes toward him. "There is an anomaly, Admiral. Our long-range probes have detected signals from Sector 87Q, a previously unregistered civilization." "Show me." The map zoomed to a small, unremarkable spiral galaxy. Within it, a single yellow star burned, with a blue-green planet orbiting at just the right distance to support life. "Primitive?" Vex asked. "Not exactly," Drell responded, bringing up intercepted transmissions. "They call themselves humans. They have achieved spaceflight, but have not expanded far beyond their home system. However, their communications suggest a complexity we rarely encounter." Vex studied the data with growing interest. The civilization was young by galactic standards, barely a few thousand years of recorded history. Yet in that short time, they had developed from stone tools to rudimentary space travel. Most species took 3 times as long to achieve such progress. "Send a standard probe," Vex ordered. "Let us see how they respond to our arrival." What Vex didn't know, what no one in the Dominion could possibly understand, was that humanity's brief history contained more conflict, more adaptation, and more sheer stubborn resilience than most spacefaring races experienced in 10,000 years. 3 days later, the scout ship returned with unusual news. The humans had not cowered. They had not prepared for war. Instead, they had attempted communication, expressing interest in the Dominion vessels. "This is unexpected," Vex admitted, reviewing the report. "Most species react with either immediate surrender or futile military preparation." Officer Drell seemed troubled. "Perhaps they do not understand the threat we represent." "Perhaps." Vex tapped his long fingers against the console. "Or perhaps they know something we do not." He straightened to his full height. "Prepare a first contact fleet. The standard approach, 50 warships, should make our intentions clear." As the orders went out across the vast network of the Dominion, Vex couldn't shake a strange feeling, something he hadn't experienced in centuries of conquest. Doubt. Captain James Reed stood at the viewport of the Defiant, watching the stars blur past as they navigated through the uncharted region of space. His weathered face reflected his 20 years of space exploration. Lines around his eyes from squinting at distant planets, a scar across his jaw from an emergency landing gone wrong 3 years ago. "Captain, we're picking up something unusual," First Officer Marcus called from his station. "A distress signal, but not on any known frequency." Reed stroked his short beard, a habit when he was thinking. "Let me hear it." The bridge filled with a strange sequence of sounds, Not quite words, more like musical notes interspersed with static. Definitely artificial, Reed said. Location? About half a light year from our position, Marcus replied. In the direction of the Omega Nebula. Reed didn't hesitate. Change course. Let's check it out. The Defiant wasn't large by Earth standards. Just one of 30 exploration vessels sent out to map the stars beyond our solar system. With a crew of 42 specialists, it represented humanity's curiosity more than its military might. 16 hours later, they found the source of the signal, a damaged ship drifting near an asteroid field. Its design was like nothing they had seen before, sleek, with what looked like crystal formations growing from its hull. Life signs? Reed asked. Very faint, but yes. Atmosphere seems thin inside. The ship appears to be running on emergency power. Reed nodded. Prep a boarding team. Standard first contact protocol. I'll lead. 20 minutes later, Reed and his team of 6 entered the alien vessel through what appeared to be an airlock. The interior was lit with a soft blue glow, and the walls seemed to pulse slightly, as if they were partly alive. Hello, Reed called out, his voice echoing in the strange corridors. We're here to help. A sound came from ahead, a soft scraping. They moved forward cautiously until they reached what seemed to be the ship's command center. 3 beings huddled there, clearly injured. They were tall and slender with 4 arms each, their skin a translucent purple that revealed shadowy organs beneath. Their large eyes widened in fear as they saw the humans. One of them spoke, the sound similar to the distress call they had heard. Dr. Bell, the xenolinguist, stepped forward with a universal translator. After a few exchanges, she turned to Reed. They're called the Trell. Their ship was damaged while they were fleeing from something called the Dominion. Reed knelt down to be at eye level with the aliens. Tell them we're here to help. We can repair their ship or take them aboard ours if necessary. Dr. Bell translated, and the reaction was immediate. The Trell spoke rapidly, gesturing with all 4 arms. They're confused, Bell said. They want to know what we want in return. They say nobody helps without demands. Reed frowned. Tell them we just want to help. That's what we do. When this was translated, the Trell fell silent, looking at each other with expressions Reed couldn't read. The largest of the 3 finally spoke again, slowly this time. They're warning us, Bell said, her voice growing serious. About this Dominion. They say it's an empire that controls hundreds of systems. Any race that resists is destroyed. They've never been defeated. Reed nodded calmly. Tell them we understand, but we're still going to help them. Over the next 3 days, the human crew worked alongside the Trell to repair their ship. The aliens were stunned by how freely the humans shared their technology and supplies. On the final day, as the Trell prepared to depart, their leader approached Reed. You should hide your world, Bell translated. The Dominion will find you eventually. They find everyone. Reed smiled. Tell them not to worry about us. Humans have faced impossible odds before. As the Trell ship pulled away, First Officer Marcus stood beside Reed. Do you think they're right about this Dominion? Reed watched the alien ship disappear into the distance. Probably. But every bully looks unbeatable until someone stands up to them. Commander Orcs moved swiftly through the curved corridors of the Dominion command ship, data tablet clutched in his 3-fingered hand. Unlike most of his kind, Orcs was small for a Dominion officer, but what he lacked in physical presence, he made up for with a mind that processed information faster than their most advanced computers. The doors to Admiral Vex's private chambers hissed open. Vex stood with his back to the entrance, looking at a holographic display of battle formations. Admiral, Orcs said, his voice low and rapid. The intelligence reports on the humans have been compiled. Vex didn't turn. And, are they preparing for war or surrender? Neither, sir. Orcs stepped forward, placing his tablet on the central table. They appear to be doing something unusual. This caught Vex's attention. He turned, all four eyes narrowing. Explain. The probe we sent 2 weeks ago was intercepted by a human vessel called Pioneer, but instead of attacking or fleeing, they sent a communication. Orcs tapped the tablet, and a recording played. A human face appeared, round with small eyes and hair on the lower portion of its face. Greetings to our visitors from beyond our system. We welcome you to Earth space. Our sensors indicate your vessel may be designed for reconnaissance. We invite your crew to visit our orbital station to exchange information and share a meal in the tradition of human hospitality. Vex stared in silence for several seconds after the recording ended. Is this a trick? Unknown, sir. But there is more. Orcs pulled up another display. Their technological development is inconsistent. Some areas are primitive, others surprisingly advanced. And their history. He hesitated. Speak freely, Commander. Their history suggests they might be more dangerous than they appear. Unlike most species we encounter, humans have never been unified. They have fought thousands of wars against themselves, developing military strategies against opponents with identical thinking patterns. Vex paced the room, considering this information. So they are violent. All the more reason to crush them quickly. There is something else. Admiral. Orcs pulled up one final image, a human historical document. They have a concept called asymmetrical warfare. Throughout their history, smaller human forces have defeated larger ones through unconventional tactics. They actually study how to overcome superior opponents. On the screen appeared images from human history, small bands of fighters hiding in forests to ambush larger forces, primitive boats attacking massive ships, and strange illustrations of small animals defeating much larger ones. And the probe crew? Vex asked. They accepted the human invitation, sir. Orcs seemed uncomfortable. They reported that the humans served them food compatible with our biology, gave them a tour of their station, and sent them back with books about human culture. Vex slammed his fist on the table. Books. We send intimidation probe, and they respond with books. Yes, sir. The probe crew described the humans as unsettlingly friendly. Admiral Vex stared at the images of Earth on the display. A small blue planet with white clouds swirling over its surface. It looked so harmless. Send a second probe, he ordered. A military assessment this time. I want weaknesses, defense capabilities, everything. Already done, sir. Orcs looked even more uncomfortable now. The humans detected it immediately. They sent a message saying they understand our need for security assessments and offered to provide the information directly to save us time. Vex felt something he hadn't experienced in centuries: confusion. Every species they encountered responded with either terror or defiance. This casual friendliness, this confidence, it made no sense. Prepare the first contact fleet, Vex decided, but double the number of ships to 100. Whatever game these humans are playing, they will learn the Dominion is not to be taken lightly. As Orcs left to carry out his orders, Vex returned to the viewport, staring into the darkness of space. For the first time in his long career, he felt uncertain about what would happen next. The Earth Defense Council chamber buzzed with urgent conversation as 50 representatives from all major territories debated humanity's response to the Dominion threat. Intelligence reports from the Trell and data gathered from the Dominion probes painted a grim picture. A massive alien armada was heading toward Earth, 100 warships strong. Admiral Thomas Walker sat quietly at the central table, his weathered face betraying no emotion. At 62, Walker had spent most of his life in space, commanding exploration vessels before being called back to lead Earth's defense forces. His hair had gone completely white years ago, but his blue eyes remained sharp and clear. We have to evacuate our colonies, one representative argued. Spread our people across as many systems as possible. No, another countered. We should concentrate our fleet. 27 ships against 100 is bad odds, but if we focus our firepower. The Dominion has conquered hundreds of worlds. A third voice interrupted. Species with far more advanced technology than ours. How can we possibly stand against them? Admiral Walker finally stood, and the room fell silent. He was not a tall man, but he carried authority in his straight posture and calm demeanor. They expect us to either surrender immediately or mount a desperate defense, Walker said, his voice steady. Those are the options every other species has chosen. So we will do neither. He walked to the holographic display in the center of the room and brought up an image of a single ship. It was not the largest in Earth's small fleet, nor the most heavily armed. Its sleek, dark hull was marked with the name Horizon. I propose we send just one ship, Walker continued. The Horizon, under my command. The room erupted in protests. One ship? That's suicide. This is no time for symbolic gestures, Admiral. Walker waited for the noise to subside. The Dominion rules through fear. Their power comes from their reputation as much as their weapons. They've never faced an enemy who wasn't afraid of them. He tapped the display, showing the interior modifications being made to the Horizon. This isn't a suicide mission. It's a carefully calculated strategy based on everything we know about them. Dr. Emma Wright, head of 10-Up Psychology, stood up beside Walker. The Dominion's history shows they've never developed countermeasures for electronic warfare or cyber attacks. They've never needed to because no one has ever challenged them that way. Their systems are surprisingly vulnerable. Walker nodded. The Horizon has been equipped with our most advanced electronic warfare systems, prototype adaptive AI, and a diplomatic package. I intend to meet with their leader. The defense minister leaned forward. And if they simply destroy you on sight? They won't, Walker replied with confidence. They're curious about us. Their probes showed that. They want to understand why we're not afraid before they crush us. He brought up new images on the display. Thousands of battles from human history, where smaller forces had defeated larger ones through unconventional thinking. Humanity has been practicing asymmetrical warfare against ourselves for thousands of years. It's time we showed the galaxy what we've learned. Slowly, the council members began to understand. This wasn't a conventional battle plan. It was something the Dominion would never expect. 3 days later, the Horizon departed Earth alone. Its crew of 100 specialists was handpicked by Walker himself, the best minds in cybersecurity, linguistics, psychology, and tactical analysis. From the command chair, Walker watched Earth grow smaller in the view screen. Lieutenant Park, his second-in-command, stood nearby. "Do you think they'll listen, sir?" Park asked quietly. Walker's mouth curved into a slight smile. "They'll listen. The question is whether they'll understand what they're hearing." As the Horizon accelerated toward its rendezvous with the Dominion fleet, Walker thought about humanity's long, violent history. All those centuries of conflict had prepared them for this moment, not to fight a war, but to avoid one in a way no other species had ever attempted. The massive Dominion flagship Oblivion dwarfed the human vessel Horizon as it hung in space, surrounded by 99 other warships. Each Dominion craft bristled with weapons capable of reducing planets to molten rock. The Horizon, by comparison, looked almost fragile, sleek and practical, with few visible weapons. On the command deck of the Oblivion, Admiral Vex watched the small human ship with all 4 eyes narrowed. "They send one ship," he said, his voice a low rumble. "Is this an insult or surrender?" Commander Orcs studied the data streaming across his console. "Neither, Admiral. They're requesting a meeting. Their commander, Admiral Walker, wishes to speak with you personally." Vex's scaled skin rippled with surprise. "No species has ever requested a meeting before battle. It is not our way." "Perhaps we should destroy them now," suggested Fleet Captain Trez, standing rigidly nearby. "Show them the cost of such presumption." Vex considered this for a moment, then made a decision that would change galactic history. "No, I will meet this human. I wish to understand their thinking before I crush their world." 30 minutes later, a small shuttle from the Horizon docked with the Oblivion. Admiral Walker stepped onto the Dominion ship alone, carrying only a small data device. He was escorted to Vex's command chamber, a vast room designed to intimidate with its towering ceilings and throne-like command chair. Walker showed no sign of fear as he faced the alien admiral, who stood nearly 2 feet taller than him. "You have courage, human, to come here alone," Vex began, his translator converting his words to English. Walker nodded respectfully. "Thank you for agreeing to meet, Admiral Vex. I believe it's important that we understand each other before making decisions that cannot be undone." "There is nothing to understand," Vex replied. "The Dominion requires your planet's surrender. Your species will serve us or be eliminated. These are the only options." Walker smiled slightly. "Those options have worked for you across hundreds of worlds because fear is a powerful motivator, but humans respond differently to fear." He activated his data device, and holographic images filled the space between them. Scenes from human history. "This is Earth, during what we call World War II," Walker explained, showing images of a devastated Europe. Smaller forces defeating larger ones through determination and innovative thinking. More images appeared: guerrilla fighters in jungles, resistance movements in occupied territories, small nations standing against superpowers. "Humans have been fighting each other for our entire history," Walker continued. "We've developed thousands of ways to defeat stronger opponents because we've had to. Fear doesn't paralyze us. It motivates us to find solutions." Vex watched the images with growing interest. "Your species seems exceptionally violent." "We can be," Walker admitted. "But we've also learned from our mistakes. We've developed something even more powerful than fear as a unifying force." "And what is that?" "Hope. Cooperation. The understanding that diverse perspectives create stronger solutions than any single viewpoint." Walker changed the display again, showing the rapid technological advancement of human civilization. "In just a few centuries, we went from horse-drawn carriages to spacecraft. We adapt faster than any species you've encountered because we've had to compete with ourselves." Vex circled Walker, studying him. "An interesting history lesson, human, but it changes nothing. One ship cannot stand against our fleet." "That's where you're mistaken," Walker said quietly. "We didn't come to fight your fleet. We came to show you why fighting us would be a mistake for the Dominion." He held up the data device. "This contains our complete history, every war, every conflict, every time a smaller force defeated a larger one. I'm offering it to you as a gift, along with a proposal." "A proposal?" Vex seemed genuinely surprised. "Yes, the Dominion can recognize Earth's sovereignty, and we can establish peaceful relations, or—" Walker paused, his eyes steady. "You can discover firsthand why humans have survived their own violent history. The choice is yours." In that moment, something shifted in the vast command chamber, a subtle change in the balance of power. For the first time in centuries, Admiral Vex felt uncertainty about the outcome of a confrontation. Admiral Vex laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the command chamber. The human standing before him was either incredibly brave or hopelessly foolish. "Your proposal is rejected," Vex declared, rising to his full height. "The Dominion does not negotiate with lesser species. We conquer them." Walker showed no reaction to the rejection. He simply nodded as though he had expected this response. "I understand," Walker said calmly. "Then I must demonstrate what I've been trying to explain." He pressed a small button on his data device. For a moment, nothing happened. Vex was about to order his guards to seize the human when every screen in the command center suddenly flickered. "What is happening?" Vex demanded, turning to his officers. Commander Orcs frantically worked at his console. "Unknown, Admiral. Something is accessing our central systems." The main display at the front of the chamber suddenly activated, showing a simple message in the Dominion language. "Demonstration beginning." Walker stood perfectly still as chaos erupted around him. Dominion officers rushed to terminals, trying to regain control of their systems. "What have you done?" Vex roared. advancing on Walker. "I've activated a program," Walker explained calmly. "It's currently mapping your entire communication network. In approximately 30 seconds, I will have control of every ship in your fleet." As if on cue, reports began flooding in from other vessels. "Admiral, call the frantic officer. Ships 7 through 15 are reporting total system failures. Weapons offline, engines offline." Vex stared at the human in disbelief. "Impossible. Our systems are protected by the most advanced security in the galaxy." Walker shook his head. "Your systems were designed to repel attacks, you understand. Humans specialize in thinking differently." On the main screen, a new display appeared, a complete map of the Dominion fleet, with ship after ship turning from green to red as their systems fell under external control. "This is just a small demonstration," Walker continued. "The program will release control of your ships in exactly 5 minutes. No permanent damage will be done." Vex's second-in-command, Drull, burst into the room. "Admiral, we're receiving reports from across the Empire. Our communication systems, defense networks, even our mining operations, all being accessed by unknown entities." For the first time in his long career, Admiral Vex felt something close to fear. "How is this possible? Your ship carries no superweapons." "No," Walker agreed. "The Horizon carries something far more dangerous: human ingenuity. The program currently disrupting your fleet was created by a team of 20 humans working together for just 3 weeks." Walker stepped closer to Vex, looking up at the much taller alien without flinching. "Not a single shot has been fired. Not one life has been lost. Yet I've demonstrated that your entire empire is vulnerable." Around them, Dominion officers watched in stunned silence as their supposedly invincible technology fell under control of a single human ship. "What you're witnessing," Walker continued, "is centuries of human problem-solving applied to your systems. We've faced enemies with superior numbers and technology throughout our history. We've had to become experts at finding weaknesses others don't see." Precisely 5 minutes after it began, the program released control. Systems across the Dominion fleet came back online. The demonstration was over, but its impact remained. "Return to your ship, human," Vex ordered, his voice now lacking its earlier confidence. "We will consider your proposal." As Walker was escorted back to his shuttle, Commander Orcs approached Vex. "Admiral, our analysis shows they could have done much more damage. They could have permanently disabled our systems, even weaponized them against us." Vex stared at the view screen, where the tiny Horizon waited peacefully among his massive warships. "They chose not to." "Yes, sir. It appears they truly came to talk, not to fight." For the first time in the long history of the Dominion, its leaders faced an enemy they couldn't intimidate, an enemy who had defeated them without firing a single shot, an enemy who offered peace after demonstrating power. As the Horizon maintained its position, a message arrived from Admiral Walker. "We await your decision." 3 months after the encounter between the Horizon and the Dominion fleet, the galaxy was transforming. Admiral Thomas Walker stood at the viewport of Earth's newly constructed diplomatic station, watching ships from 12 different alien species arrive for the first Galactic Coalition meeting. "I never thought I'd see this day," said Dr. Emma Wright, now Earth's chief diplomatic officer, as she joined him at the window. 17 systems have declared independence from the Dominion in just 90 days. Walker nodded, his eyes following a sleek Trell vessel as it docked. "Not independence, interdependence. That's what makes this different." The station they stood in represented something entirely new in the galaxy, a place where different species could meet as equals. Its circular design, with meeting chambers arranged like spokes around a central hub, ensured no species could claim prominence over others. On the other side of the galaxy, Admiral Vex faced his own council. The mood was tense, with many questioning his decision not to crush the humans immediately. "The Dominion appears weak," growled War Commander Zalt. "We should assemble our remaining loyal fleets and make an example of Earth." Vex stepped to the center of the chamber. And then what? Faced the same demonstration of vulnerability across all our systems. The humans showed remarkable restraint. They could have destroyed us, yet they offered cooperation instead. Commander Orcs display their latest intelligence. 17 systems have joined this coalition the humans proposed. Another 23 are considering it. The humans are sharing their defensive technology freely among all members. This coalition threatens everything we've built, Zalt insisted. No, Vex replied, his voice firm. It offers us a choice about what we will become. He activated a holographic display showing the rapid changes spreading across the galaxy. Systems that had lived in fear for centuries were now establishing trade routes, cultural exchanges, and mutual defense agreements. The humans did what no species has done before, Vex continued. They defeated us without destruction. They showed strength through restraint. Perhaps there is wisdom in their approach. Back at the coalition station, Walker entered the main chamber where representatives from each member world sat around a large circular table. There was no head position, no hierarchy, just equals gathered to address common problems. The Trell representative, Linar, approached Walker. My people lived in fear for generations. Now our children look to the stars with hope. How did humans develop such different thinking? Walker smiled. We learned from our mistakes. Our history is filled with empires that tried to rule through fear, just like the Dominion. They all eventually fell because fear creates resistance. Cooperation creates strength. As the meeting began, representatives discussed technology sharing, cultural exchange programs, and a mutual defense agreement that would protect all member worlds. A small light flashed on Walker's communicator. He stepped aside to answer it, and was surprised to see Admiral Vex's face on the screen. Admiral Walker, Vex said formally. The Dominion Council requests permission to send observers to your coalition meetings. Walker worked to hide his surprise. Observers would be welcome. Full participation would be even better. Vex was silent for a moment. That may come in time. We have much to learn about this new way of thinking. After the communication ended, Walker rejoined the meeting, listening as former enemies discussed cooperation. The galaxy was changing not through conquest, but through choice. Planets choosing self-governance within a supportive coalition. What had started with one ship facing 100 had become a movement spreading across the stars. The humans had not only saved themselves, but had liberated countless worlds that had lived under tyranny for generations. As Walker looked around the table at the diverse representatives, he thought about humanity's long, violent history. All those centuries of conflict had taught them not just how to fight, but ultimately how to build peace. The universe would never be the same again, and it had taken just one ship to change it.